Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Hitbox and YouTube. SuperVin47 here with another episode of the Game Dev Podcast. Joining me once again will be my co-host, Eniko of KitsuneGames.
Hello.
And special guesting this week will be Steven and Luc of Speelbaars? I want to say it. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry.
Speelbaars.
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 I can do it because I'm Dutch too, so.
Yeah.
I'm Asian. I don't know these words.
It's like 3 Dutch people now and 1 American. It's so sad.
Yeah, we'll just talk in Dutch and then ignore you.
Oh wow, thanks. Who's hosting this again? I think this week I will be the co-host and Eniko will be the main host. And welcome to the special Dutch edition.
Well, if you're fast, you can type in stuff you hear in Google Translate. Try to get what we're talking about.
If I even type it correctly. Okay, so what have you guys been up to this week? We'll start with you, with Luc and Steven first, since you're the guests.
Yeah, well, Luc can start then, I guess.
What we've been up to, I guess what we've recently been doing is we were at In Development. It was a game event in the Netherlands. And right now we're basically just promoting our game. We're doing internships, so we can't really work on it full time. So we're focusing on promotion. But yeah, we're making preparations for August, September, when we can start working full time on the game again.
Okay, cool. Steven?
Yeah, well, basically what Luc said. I've been busy with a bit of marketing, mailing around, see if we can get some exposure for the game, but nothing more than that.
All right, Eniko.
Oh, sorry. I was marveling at the fact that I'm suddenly a mod on your hitbox.
Well, that's mainly because none of my other mods bothered to show up. So.
Okay. Complete surprise to me. I've been promoting the hell out of Midboss because I launched it last week on Friday. Well, Saturday morning, I guess, technically.
Yeah, that's right. You just released the alpha publicly, right?
Yeah, it's been a thing.
Yep. Yes, it has.
It's kind of hard to describe what happens when you release a game because you put it out there and you're like, you think something will happen, but obviously nothing's going to happen because people actually need to notice your game and then go and download it and be in the mood to play it and then play it for a while and then give you feedback. So, the first couple of days, nothing's happening and you're like, ugh, just make something happen already.
Well, I think Luc and Steven, you two already have a public version of your game out now, right?
Yeah, we had a demo of Lumini released in November last year.
Yep.
And yeah, we know the problem that Eniko is talking about a little bit.
Okay.
There are times that people aren't playing, and when they're playing, they're not telling you that they are playing. And we released the demo mainly for feedback, but it's hard to wait for it. So.
Yeah, the thing with the feedback that you do get is basically people always try to be nice to you. So they're always like, oh yeah, it's great, And they're like, yeah, but tell us what's wrong with it. And they're really hesitant to say what they don't like.
But I played mid-boss a bit for like 10 minutes. I really sucked at it, and I didn't really have the time, so... But it looked really old school, so...
Yeah, I've tried to, take the old school roguelike spirit and kind of repackage it in something that's a little more accessible. Like, in a roguelike, normally you would just up your attributes like strength or agility or whatever. And I did the whole meta attribute system to make it a bit more accessible. And also I did a lot of more UI work.
Hang on, I'm just trying to show video clips of both of your games. So, are we talking? Are we going to talk about Eniko's or Lumini
know.
first?
We're
Probably
gonna talk
Lumini.
about what we want to talk about, I guess. So.
Okay, and I'll just have to be quick on the draw then.
Well, I like the possession mechanic in Midboss. It's kind of original in a roguelike game because enemies aren't just enemies, so it adds a new layer to the game.
Yeah. There's actually been a couple of games like that, like all around the same time. It's kind of weird.
Wait, as in just released recently?
No. When I released Midboss originally, because this is like a year on from where I did another game for Ludum Dare, which was also Midboss, but that was in Python, and it was a lot worse than what we have now. And around that time, there was also a Morph that came out, and Possession, a ghost story or something. It's made in love. So that's actually interesting.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sounded cool. I hadn't seen it before. I don't usually play roguelike games because there's simply too many of them, and most of them aren't that original. So I'm like, yeah, well, it's another roguelike game, but I felt obliged to play this one.
So you know what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Could
It's always nice to know the game. So.
Could you maybe give like an elevator pitch explaining why your roguelike is so much better than all the other ones?
Oh my god, kind of putting me on the spot there.
Well,
Well, Midboss is better because it's more accessible, and I've spent a lot of time making sure that there's no false choices in the stat system, and because the only way to regain health is by possessing more monsters instead of what you would normally do in a roguelike when you're doing badly, which is run away. You actually have to go find other monsters to heal yourself, and it creates a lot of moments where you're like, can I kill this monster before it kills me?
oh man, I had a couple of those moments last night while recording this because I tweeted earlier.
My elevator pitch needs work, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, I thought it was good.
Well, it was fine. It set the points that need to be set. So.
I would say Midboss is one of the few like legitimate roguelikes out there right now, because you have so many games who are professing like, oh, we're roguelike, but it's not really. Like it's either live action, like not turn-based movement like this.
Procedural or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Every game with procedural generation calls itself roguelike nowadays. So.
I like Total Biscuit's term for those kind of games, like roguelite.
Yeah, roguelite. I heard it a couple of times.
Watering down of the term roguelike, I think it's literally worse than Satan.
Oh my, here we go.
Now that's a good elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's not. It's better than Satan.
My game isn't worse than Satan.
No, your game is actually it's. I mean, talking about Total Biscuit, you guys got a video he made of it, right?
No, we didn't. I wish we had.
Didn't he? I'm pretty sure.
No, he didn't.
We got a lot of Let's Plays, but not big ones like Total Biscuit. But of course we got Supervin, of course.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Superfin is better than Total Biscuit.
Maybe I saw it on somewhere else.
I'm gonna tweet that.
I know I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah, well, if you find it, we'd be happy, but we didn't see it. Would be great though. We mailed the guy, but most of the time you don't get a reaction from bigger.
Bigger any.
Bigger any.
That's the worst thing, isn't it? Trying to just get noticed.
Yeah, it's because, especially with our game, it's more about the experience than it's more. The game has more than you could say in words. Like in words, you control a swarm, you can split up the swarm, you can beat enemies, you can escape from enemies, and you can find energy to breed new lumini, and you can say a lot about it. But in the end, it's all about the experience that makes it a whole. And talking about something like a relaxing mood in a game that accompanies traditional gameplay, it's hard to put in words and convince people of that. But most people that play our game eventually are like, wow, now I understand it. And it's great, but it's hard to get noticed when you're not when you don't have personal contact.
Originally we try to describe the game like what it really is. So like it's an adventure game, and there's breeding, and we try to really explain the mechanics, but people don't really want to
it's too
listen
much,
to that.
isn't it?
Yeah. So now we just call it, it's a flow adventure that relaxes you. That's more clear, even though you haven't actually played the game, you have a slight idea of what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
A friend of mine had a good line for mid-boss like that today. Hang on, let me see if I can find it, because I forgot like a dumbass. This is not something that you need to forget. My God, where is it?
Well, while Eniko is looking, like, in my video, I did compare, like, Lumini is definitely an experience game. Like, you're right, there's no real way to describe it. I think the closest thing I could come to in comparing it to any other type of game would be Journey, actually. I said that in my video. Because...
yeah, you did.
Yeah, we were flattered.
No, it really is an experience. And the way how you don't just tell players what's going on, how you leave little clues in the background, like the mural earlier showing them, I guess, like, what was it, the big whale type creatures?
I saw it on your channel.
Yeah, it was
Now I know where I saw the game. I saw it on your channel. I'm mixing you up with Total Biscuit. It's like they're right next to each other.
It's like we said, it's easy to do because the quality is great, of course.
Yeah.
But
now we're working. We try to make the game pick up and play and accessible for people without taking their hand and telling them how to play the game, because we think that's not complementary to the game experience. We want you to explore everything for yourself and find the fun in the game on the way that you like to play it and do stuff.
I have a lot of respect for how you guys did that, because like one of the feedback I'm getting is Midboss has an in-game tutorial and people are like, dude, your tutorial is too wordy, too much text. And like you guys just teach people how to play without even using any words. And that's so hard because like when I started with the UI design for Midboss, it was practically impossible to get players to even open up the stats menu to spend their stats, even after I told them, hey, you should spend your stats in the stats menu.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to teach people things. But for instance, Superfin mentioned the murals in our game, and we get a lot of feedback like people like them, but they don't even understand them. So even if they enjoy it, if it functionally doesn't really work, then it's something that in the end you just have to scratch. And for instance, there's this whole breeding mechanic in our game that most people don't even pick up upon. So it's really hard to do.
I still haven't figured out how to consistently get the kind of Lumini that I want, actually.
Exactly.
It's a
I talked to you. I talked to you on Twitter about it some time ago.
You
did. You had all these guesses about how to get them, but you never really guessed it, I guess.
I did
a lot
not.
Of guessing.
I did not, and it's so frustrating because I know the red Lumini exists. I've seen it.
Do you want us to spoil it?
No. No, but just...
Wait,
well,
so
in
Lumini...
the game Mag actually got it right.
So Lumini are like fish, right?
We get that question a lot.
Well, they're Lumini, they're their own creatures, but the design has a lot from fish and insects.
So if they're red fish, does that mean that the red Lumini is a red herring?
No! It exists! It exists! I'm not crazy!
That would be great.
I'm not crazy! I know it exists!
Yeah, we should just make trailers full with red Lumini and just have it all be a lie.
Yeah. That's right.
I feel a meme coming on.
The red, the red fish is
Lumina is a
real.
lie.
It's not. It's real.
Well, it basically is dependable on what your actions are in the game.
Yeah, I
So,
remember you told me that.
Just go to the basics of what you're doing when you're engaging enemies, and the choice you make when you engage one basically decides what kind of Lumini you get while breeding. I'm not gonna spoil more than that. But
Okay. Okay, cool. Could you guys tell us, like, walk us through the development process? Like, this is a Unity game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, like, what took you down this kind of gameplay style? This kind of wandering, just, story-based gameplay, as opposed to, say, an FPS or a platformer or something like that?
We wanted to make something that first delivered an experience, and second was easy to understand while still doing something new with game mechanics, like splitting up the swarm. It needed to be entertaining and engaging on basically every level in the game. And we sat down with the team and we're like, yeah, well, what can we do with mechanics and experience that other games give us? So we made a list of games that we liked and stuff like that, and went on from there, in which we took some mechanics or experiences or way other games approached it and tried to bring it into something new like Lumini. Because we had Flower and Flow from that game company are like great games, but a lot of people are like, yeah, well, I'm flying around with leaves of flowers, petals, and I have more petals, and then I go from flower to flower, and they don't get it because they miss a traditional storyline. And a lot of side-scrolling games are like, well, yeah, but most of them do the same. Every time you can jump, you can run, you can kill enemies. And a lot of story games are like, well, we have a linear story in which I don't have the freedom to explore what I want to explore. I want to know this about the world and not the stuff you're going to tell us. And we took the weaknesses from all those games and basically tried to fix them in one game.
Wow, that's
ambitious.
well, you did it pretty well with Lumini, I must say. It's when I first played it, I honestly did not know what I was getting into, but it really was an experience, and I'm really glad that the story you kind of figure it out for yourself, sort of. Like in my video, I was spouting like all sorts of crazy ideas, like what are these structures? What are these buildings? What's going on here?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to do that. We give you hints and we drop moments of the story, more so in the full game than in the demo in the future. And it depends on how you interpreted it, and make your own story based on that. So we want to make you curious with those buildings, like what is it about? Why are these buildings here? Because it's clear that Lumini aren't making them and using them. So what's more in this world? And the same goes for the murals, like gameplay wise, like what can you do? Because I know I can fly around and I know you can tell us how to split up, but there are things, interactions with this world that you can't tell us.
Yeah, and so the demo kind of hints at the story that is to come in the full version. And our artists are basically begging us, please focus a lot on the narrative, because the demo is still really minimal in that. But so we basically decided just to get the gameplay right first and kind of hint at the story. And so the next step is to really get the narrative, more in the spotlight.
Okay. The three of you were talking about feedback earlier. Have you managed to get any new ideas from the community, or? or any new direction from since releasing the alpha?
Not a new direction as a whole. We have little things on the mechanics, like the tumble puzzles with the hinge that tend to stop the game flow. You need to stop and think about it, and you're fiddling around to fix it and try to solve the puzzle, and it takes you out of the immersion of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So those puzzles don't work. So we're looking into integrating puzzles more into the flow of the game and in the movement of the game, that you can solve them while you think about how to solve them.
Okay.
So you don't need to stop flying. You don't need to stop exploring. At no moment in the game we want you to be aware that it's a game that is trying to challenge you, because the world needs to be challenging in itself in a certain way. I'm not sure. It's hard to put in words, like I said, but
sounds very zen.
yeah, we're trying to avoid metagaming, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you reach one of those hinge puzzles, it feels really gamey. Like, oh, here's another puzzle. Now I have to do the same sequence that I did before. It doesn't really feel natural enough. So we're working on that.
All right.
That's fortunately not a problem I have.
Yeah, you're
feeling too gamey.
in that sense, it's the complete opposite direction. Exactly.
It's like roguelike players coming to me and being like, "We want to know everything." Like, well, okay. But then you still need to find a way to do that without taking people out of the experience, because there's, like, I tried to design mid-boss to be very accessible, and it is. You can jump in and read the tutorial messages and just kind of play around, and with the meta attributes, it's more customizing your play style. So there's no actual wrong choices in where you put your stats. And I think that's something that mid-boss is very successful at, even though nobody's mentioned that to me. Like, nobody mentions the meta attributes. They're like, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah, but people don't mention the good things because they're like, well, this is good. This is like the game is supposed to be. So they won't mention it because they experience it right
That
way.
is true, actually, yeah. No,
When something goes wrong, they're like, well, this is wrong. This takes me out of the immersion. It's something they'll tell you. But what you're doing right, they never tell you. It's like, well, it was great, but why was it great? Well, yeah, because you could do this. But yeah, had you noticed that? Well, yeah, now you say it.
Yeah,
I had noticed that.
Yeah.
But
they just say, if you ask what was right, they'll just say, it was fun. And you'll be like, well, duh.
Yeah, it's a general feedback that players always give. Well, what did you think? Well, I liked it. It was fun. It was great. Well, what is wrong with it? I don't know.
Well, it wasn't fun. It sucked. I had a terrible time, and now I want to kill your dog.
I get the same thing from my videos. I was like, okay, well, what would you guys like to see more of? Everything. I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah, so specific. But what was I even saying? Oh yeah, like I have that, so you can just jump in and play. But beneath that, there's like so much complexity, and just trying to find a way to explain everything inside the actual game and have it not be intrusive. That's so hard. Like, to do it, again, like you said, without taking people out of the experience.
Yeah, I think it's hard for a developer when you're creating mechanics and systems. You want people to notice those systems and see those mechanics. And when you're not telling people that they are there, people tend to miss them, and you're like, well, you missed this awesome thing about my game, and you try to steer people towards it, and it quickly turns into forcing people to do it because you want them to see your awesome system. So it's really hard to balance that, I think.
Yeah, doesn't Jonathan Blow talk about that in Indie Game the Movie? Like, where he says, like, people loved his game, but they loved all this stuff that and none of this, all the stuff he
Yeah.
didn't think they would love, and none of the stuff that he wanted them to love.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you said this. You said about well, people liked the game, but didn't understand why the game was great and why you should like the game, and it frustrated him, I believe, something around that.
Honestly,
and
I don't care if people understand why they like Mythos. I'm just glad that they do.
Yeah, it's
I
the
have
same
very
for
low
us.
standards.
Our aim wasn't to let people find everything, because basically 90% of the people haven't encountered the red lumini and they have no clue on how to get them, but they are there and they changed the game a lot.
See, I'm not crazy.
We don't care because
See?
people seem to like it with the speedy lumini, with the light ones, the white ones, and it's okay for us. So
Nah,
because
screw that.
it's your own adventure.
The red exists. See, hear that? The developer says they exist. I will find a way. I will find them again. Right now, for me, the red lumini are like unicorns. I will find them. I saw them once. I will find them again.
Yeah, Finn,
By the way,
what is your favorite color?
Oh, of the lumini?
No, what's your favorite color? Just from any color.
Oh, it
You're
would
gonna
be,
say that's a Lumini.
you know what? Right now I would say light blue. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a difficult color, but we're gonna put in a light blue lumini and make it not accessible and make footage with it where you can find it, and people go, I can't find the Super Fin 47 lumini.
You're horrible. You're horrible, and I love it.
By the way,
Please.
Vin, I'm noticing something in the mid-boss video.
What's up?
I can't actually see the parts that, well, you can't see, but that's not what I mean. Like, is the video darker in the video or something? Could you see the places you'd already explored when you were playing it?
Oh, yes. No. I
Okay.
was able to see that. It's just that natively.
It's doing some kind of gamma correction or something.
Yes. It's just a little bit darker. That's all. Well, yeah. When Fraps records everything a couple shades darker, but when I try to I'm trying to figure out how lightly to brighten everything. That's just an ongoing battle between myself and Fraps.
Okay.
I was able to see everything fine in the game.
Yeah, I need to add accessibility options, like have options for the gamma and for colorblind people. But oh my god, I need to do so many things still.
Okay. You guys were actually talking about metagaming earlier. I tried two different builds-ish in this game. One was the, I believe, all violence build. Like, most of my points went into violence to see how much damage I could do, I guess. Like, I just tried experimenting with different things. And I think this is my first encounter with a zombie.
Oh, in the video, you mean?
Yeah, in the video.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm like, screw that.
You're like, nah,
No.
not having any of that. That's a good response.
Oh, no, wait, here we go. Oh, this is not
And
gonna
then you're like, oh, I have range.
No, I just tried to go for it as a bat.
Oh, wow.
I was like 8 damage, you know what, ball all the
Totally
way.
not being smart about it.
I was cocky. I was so cocky. And I died.
Oh, yeah, you're dying so hard.
Oh my god.
Well, that's the thing about mid-boss. Like, a lot of roguelikes, I feel, are like, to name something contemporary, are like FTL. In FTL, if you get a good run, it's amazing, and you're invincible, and you blow up the rebel mothership, flagship, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And other runs, you just don't get anything. And it's like, okay, I've got no fuel, I've got no missiles, I've got no good weapons or anything. And that's why you lose. And that's the thing in mid-boss. I really wanted it to be strategic. Like, the monsters are always going to be the same. The abilities you can learn are always going to be the same. The level curve is going to be roughly the same. So every time you die, it's because you did something wrong, and if you learn from those mistakes, you can get further and further into the game. And I do want to add a random element with the inventory system and the equipment, which isn't currently in. But to be able to use like those more random items, you have to equip the equip abilities, like equip melee, equip staves, equip armor, equip accessories. And you're basically giving up a known entity, another ability that you could use. And I think that's definitely one thing I try to do in mid-boss, is to make it more strategic and less about luck and just rushing in blindly until you die. Which is why your rushing in blindly until you die strategy didn't work so well.
I knew when I was doing it, I felt that when I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, the first time I tried it, I thought, oh yeah, I can take this zombie, no problem. Until he's doing 8 damage to me in one shot. I'm like, wait.
Yeah. You should have been like, run away, run away.
Well, he's killing me, so I'll try again and hope the next blow doesn't hurt me.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's the definition of insanity, or so this one video game tells me.
Sheep Pollution asks, what did you use to make this?
This is written in C# using XNA, or rather Monogame 3.0, for those interested. So I did the entire engine myself, just not the parts where you get the graphics on the screen and, the sounds out of the speakers. And that was a lot of work, but I like it that way.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, alright. You guys, I think, who was it that called me out? I think it was Speelbaars, who says, oh, why doesn't Vin make games?
Yeah, I said it on Twitter earlier. You asked for topics, and I was like, well, you like games, you know a lot about games, so why don't you make games?
Well, first of all, I would not claim to know a lot about games. But yeah,
neither do we, so... you never know much about games. You just...
Well, I know tons about games.
Yeah, you know tons about games, but when you think about what you don't know about games, so
it's a lot more.
Suddenly the lot you know looks very little.
It's like when I try to research like combo systems and stuff, and people are like talking about frame times and all sorts of chain combos and cancel moves, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell you're on about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am actually getting into learning. I'm actually starting with the basics. Eniko has referred me to quite a few tutorials on Python to build up a base there, and I've also gotten a lot of other help with trying to get into Unity. I believe Unreal Engine 4 was recommended to me at some point. Oh, actually, that's a good question. Did you guys were you guys looking into Unity specifically for your game, or did you shop around for different engines?
We basically went with Lumini because the knowledge of Lumini was there, and it had everything we needed. So Unity is very flexible in how to use it, while stuff like Unreal Engine is basically for first-person games and maybe third-person games, but it's always the same kind of games, and Unity is more open to different things, mostly 3D, and with the upgrade now even 2D games. So whatever game you want to make, Unity is almost always one of the top answers at the moment. I think that's what they do great. It's not like jack of all trades, master of none, but Unity is, while being a master of none, close to being the jack of all trades.
Okay.
Yeah, Unity is a bit like in between an engine and a framework. Like if you take XNA, and like you won't have to code stuff to get sound out of speakers and to get an image on the screen, but other than that, you have to do everything yourself. And if you take Unreal Engine 4, then it's basically an engine. And once you try to go outside of that scope, it's like, well, we're not built to do this, so, whatever. And Unity is kind of in between there because you can make a sort of your own engine, but it also has a lot of support for engine-like stuff, like all that drag and drop nonsense that I don't know anything about.
Okay, cool. It's interesting having the three of you here actually, because on the one hand you have Eniko, who coded her own game and made her own engine, and on the other hand,
my own XML serialization framework because I'm fucking insane.
and on the other hand, we have you guys from Speelbaars. I will never say that correctly.
Well, you're learning. That was actually quite good.
Yes! I will never say it the same way again, though.
Honorary Dutch lesson.
But on the other hand, we'll have you guys saying, "Oh, well, Unity is very flexible." So, in terms of, a know-nothing, not even know how to code person like me, would it be more accessible for me to have, for me to set up a small background in coding, taking a little bit from Eniko style, but then using that background on something like Unity?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way you want to go.
Yeah, it's the easiest way
I've been
to
coding
get into
for
it.
like 15 years now, and specifically coding games. And like I've only started releasing games now, so I can't actually suggest anyone does what I've been doing. But I'm at that point now where I can make very complex systems and get the customization and power that I want from it. And stuff like Unity limits me sometimes, and I don't like that. But that because I do that doesn't mean it's the best way for everyone. Although I do get tired of people telling me to use Unity.
Okay.
It's almost a thing now where people get browbeaten into using Unity instead of doing whatever the hell they want to do.
You should make the game in wherever you want to make the game. If it's Game Maker, Unity, or XNA, it's up to you because you're the one who knows what you need for making the game. And if your knowledge is more with XNA, then why do it in Unity?
Yeah,
But for us, Unity was the right answer to all the stuff we needed. So.
But there's this myth going around where like people like to say if you want to ship games, don't make your own engines, and it's just not true. I mean, don't make a AAA 3D engine, sure, but sure, make your own engine. It's educational. And you can do anything you want as long as you code it all.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's no use going with an engine that doesn't support what you want to do with your game because people say so. Because writing your own engine does take more time, and when you can start right away with creating your game, you will release earlier. You've spent less money, and so if Unity is right for your game, you should go with Unity. But if it's not, then don't try to force it and just write your own engine, because eventually
there's
it's
also
about the end product. So.
The whole personal framework thing that people seem to overlook a lot, because Mintboss is using a lot of code that I did in previous projects of mine, like the UI framework that's from another game, like just lots of stuff, and you keep building onto that, and basically eventually you get this big code base that's kind of like Unity. Like, it's limited in certain ways, but it's limited in the ways that you usually limit yourself, so it's not a problem. And if you ever want to expand it, then it's your code, so you can do that. And the problem with Unity, I guess, is that's what I'm terrified of. If I run into a problem somewhere internal in Unity, then I just can't fix it, and I'm at their mercy. And that's just a thing of mine. I just don't like that idea.
Okay. Alright, well, as Chad has clearly noticed, we are back in the primary screen here, so we're opening up chat to discussion for questions, and I guess we'll just get started with topics then. I think Eniko, you had a topic you wanted to mention?
Yeah, so someone on Twitter said that they were getting ready to play the friend card with me to get a free copy of Mid-Boss, because even though it's an alpha. And I don't want to talk about that specifically, but I do think it's kind of problematic and a symptom of a larger problem in the industry right now. Like, if someone assumes, like, okay, this game just got released in alpha, and I probably have to pay for it, which is early access. I think that's kind of worrying when that's the default mode.
Well, considering all three of you have released, either demos or alphas, what are your opinions, Steven and Luke?
Well, personally, I think when a game isn't finished, you shouldn't ask money for it. I'm not a fan of the whole early access thing, except when it's a multiplayer game like DayZ, because their development is based on the community, on how people react on the multiplayer servers while gaming seriously. And if you release it for free, you get a lot of griefers on the servers. You still get those, but
okay.
I think then it could be useful. I know Flambeer released Nuclear Throne on early access, actually for a higher price than the price for the full version is gonna be, because they said we want people.
Weird.
Yeah, they said we want people who play the early access to really invest in the development cycle. We want their feedback. We want them to tell us what's wrong with the game. And if you just want to play the game for fun for an hour, we don't need you, basically. So they upped the price and said, well, pay for your role in the development, basically.
I don't really agree with that model. I do think it's, like, if it's not an alpha, if it's a beta, like, to me, an alpha is like, this game is only half done. That's an alpha. And then a beta is like, most of the features are in there. There's going to be a little shuffling, maybe some rebalancing, but mostly the product is as it will be. I think at that point you can charge money for it, but it should definitely be less money than the full product.
Yeah, the problem with early access is also that it's hard to tell if it's in alpha or beta, because most games are in early access and go to release. So I'm not sure how far Nuclear Throne is compared to what the full game is going to be. So I can't say if it's alpha or beta. It's in early access, and they did that with price. So
yeah, and I think that's a problem. I think it teaches both consumers and developers bad habits. I just do not like it, and I do not approve of it. Like, it's another thing I'm thinking of. Some people have said, I would pay money for this. Like Barlock, he was like, I would pay £5 for this. And I was like, well, okay then. So I might do a thing where you can buy in early, like download the free alpha, or support the developer and get like a discount and buy in early and get all the other updates for free. That seems okay. But the whole early access thing, I mean, now you have games which are basically forever in early access.
Yeah, but it's like when you put it into another industry like movies. Let's pretend you're buying a DVD, and like halfway in the movie it says, well, the rest of the movie we're still producing it, so you can download it here later on, but thank you for buying half of this movie. Just wait a few months. That would be silly. But with games, somehow it's normal at the moment that you pay for something that isn't done yet.
And it's getting more normal, and that's what worries me. It's the same thing what you had with the mobile games market, where people started trying to undercut all the prices and then selling their stuff for like $1, and now that's normal, and you can't actually sell a game for more than $1 on the mobile market. And I don't want that to happen with early access, where people where people are used to getting shitty substandard products for full price or more. I don't have anything like, I don't have a rational statement to make, like, this is a slippery slope, cats and dogs living together, chaos in the streets. It gives me a bad gut feeling, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of the early access, but there's a lot to say for the development. A lot of indies don't have money and need money to develop it. When you get money for the game from the start of your development, you're basically funding your own development while developing, and that could help. But the problem still is that there's no guarantee that the full product is ever going to be finished. That it's going to be something that you're ready to pay €10 for. And a lot of questions like that. You're paying for a concept, you're paying for an idea, and that's really risky. And it's open for abuse of the system.
Well,
I know there are
the AAA industry starts doing this kind of shit.
Yeah, but because I know there are basically developers and greedy people who will put games out there that aren't intended to be finished, but they put games in early access that basically need less work than shovelware games need now. It opens a whole. It
Jane
opens
has
the
a
door for
comment
the
on
dark
this.
side of game development, basically.
Jane has an interesting comment here. She asks, is alpha funding really worse than pre-production crowdfunding? And I would argue, yes. I mean, not alpha funding specifically. Alpha funding where you voluntarily buy in, or you can get the product for free. That seems fine. But early access, I think, yeah, that's way more problematic because it's institutionalized by Valve, and they're put up on the storefront as just products that you can buy, which is way different than someone going onto the Midboss site and being like, oh, I really enjoyed it, so I want to help out the developers, so I'm going to toss them, €5 or £5 or whatever. And crowdfunding is entirely different because people know that they're buying a concept. They know that they should know that they have no guarantees. And I don't think early access gives that same, all bets are off kind of disclaimer.
So you're saying it's based on expectations, then?
Yeah, I think so. I think early access because Valve is behind it, and because it's using the storefront, and because these things are, almost advertised as normal products. There's very little actually different about them on the storefront.
Yeah, except a little sentence telling them that it's early access.
Yeah, and
this game isn't
really
full.
No information on where is the budget going, what are the expected features, what is the expected time path. These are all things that you have when you go on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Kickstarter gives you an idea on what the full game is going to be. In early access with most of the games is well, we have this, you can play this, we have no clue when it's finished, we have no clue what it's going to be, and we'll keep adding on it. DayZ is based on the mod from Arma 2, and it's now a full game with basically the same gameplay, a lot of bugs and errors, and nowhere is it. Yeah, the developer walked out, and there's no clue on when it's going to be finished, if it's going to be finished, and what the eventual game is going to be, more than walking around and killing other peoples and escape zombies. There's no view on what the finished product is going to be. And on Kickstarter, it's basically, this is what the finished game is going to be. So, do you want us to help to finish the game?
Okay. Real quick, Sheepolution says it's also safer to release buggy games as the bugs can always be fixed later on. While physical copies couldn't be updated back then when alpha beta was considered free, which means they don't test as much as they used to do. So what do you guys think on the knowing release of buggy alpha games being considered okay, with the understanding that they're going to be patched later on?
An alpha game inherently isn't the finished game, so it will have bugs. because basically it's testing. So when you willingly pay for early access, I think you take the risk of playing a buggy game and it not working. I'm not against people buying early access, and I won't say people shouldn't buy early access. But people need to know what they step into, which could be a buggy, broken game that you can't really play yet.
Okay.
I think Sheepolution is like referring to way back when, maybe, when actually getting a patch out was
Hard
basically
with
impossible.
CDs.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
even floppies. I remember playing Ultima 8, and there was an Ultima 8 patch out that made the game actually playable, but it was basically impossible to get.
Yeah, well, that's true. You needed a lot of testing because the end product was something physically that you shipped to other people, and there was no way for others to get an update because the internet wasn't as open as it is now.
This is also a PC problem, isn't it, though? Because consoles really require ridiculous amounts of playtesting and making sure that everything's stable. I mean, they'll run. I heard a story about how they'll run your game like continuously for a week to see if it crashes or something. Like completely wild use cases that nobody would ever do.
Yeah, it's the same with if you take Pokemon for example. In the first Pokemon games, Red and Blue, you have the missing no bug, which you can duplicate items and stuff like that, and duplicate Pokemon with the link traits, and those never got fixed because, well, it basically was impossible for Nintendo to fix all those copies. So it was like, yeah, well, we tested it, we missed it, it is in the game, and somehow it turned legendary and people used it. And nowadays it's basically if something's wrong with the game, they'll fix it. If Red and Blue was released with the same bug now, it would have been gone within a month.
Well, my problem with the whole thing, to like bring this entire discussion together, is that a lot of these things like early access and alpha funding and games releasing really buggy because they're like, well, everyone's got it on Origin or Steam or whatever, and we can just roll out a fix like the 0 day or the day one patch or something. This is all PC stuff, and PC is like where the indies get their bread, and the more consumers get used to this kind of stuff, and also the low prices that you've been seeing on Steam ever since they allowed so many games on, it's just, I think in the end it's going to hurt indie developers because they won't be able to charge a lot. Consumers will be, well, I guess maybe if consumers are used to buggy releases, that's good for the developers, but I just don't know. I don't think it's a good development. I think it's going to eventually, all of this stuff is going to come back to bite the indie developers in the butt, basically.
Yeah, I got a question from someone at Indie Development from Game Kings, and it's a Dutch Games Press game show on TV. And they said, well, what do you think on the pricing with games? Do you think indies can ask a price above €10? Because most indies sell under it. And you see games that are currently released, like, for example, the early access game from Flambeer, which is above it. Do you think that's a good way for indies to go? And I was like, actually, it is a good way for indies to go, but because these last few years you have this race to the bottom for pricing, just to get sales and exposure and hope that it will make enough money to sustain yourself, which basically hurts bigger indie teams with longer development times who need more money for a better product, so they need a higher price to make the same profit, and no one will buy the game because they're like, well, yeah, you have this indie game which only sold for $5, but yeah, my indie game took 3 years longer to develop, so it needs, so it's a better product. It has a higher price, but people are like, well, yeah, I can get this game for less money.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It's like, imagine having to sell Outlast for like 15 euros at most, and then having to do sales for €7.50 to even get rid of it. Then the people who did Outlast wouldn't be able to make another game. It's just that simple. And people always have this idea with indie games like, oh, they're little, oh, they're bedroom coders, oh, they do this, alongside their job. But a lot of indies are actually doing this full time or trying to do this full time. And that attitude just isn't helping. And also the attitude that an indie game is going to be low on content and, low on depth and low on complexity. I don't think Mid-Boss is going to be low on any of those things when it's finally done, but I still don't think I'm going to be able to charge more than 15 euros for it, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the same problem for Lumini. We talked about the price, and we said, well, we have a price in mind that we think is worth it, but to sell the games, and basically on Steam you have these 2 buttons on the side with prices lower than €5 and prices lower than €10. To get on those lists, you need to sell below €10, so it's gonna be $9.99, which is away from Valve and basically the industry forcing you to set a lower price to even get exposed to people. And I think that's actually really bad, but.
Is Luke still alive over there?
Yeah, he
Can
actually,
you guys hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
He
Yeah, there was
texted me.
something wrong with my mic, so sorry for ignoring you.
Okay.
I thought you were ignoring me. Actually, I thought, oh god.
I thought we were all just talking over you, and you were like, I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Yes, well, it's interesting to listen to, definitely. But no, I'll try to participate this time.
Okay.
So, Luke, we'll give you half an hour, and
But yeah, no, early access. You actually see it's a trend that's actually getting into AAA games as well. If you, at least to a certain extent, if you look at, for instance, the new Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, that's basically like
Oh God,
2
yeah.
hours of gameplay for like €30. It's insane.
Uh-oh.
Basically, a type of early access.
Uh-oh. Not even 2 minutes back onto the podcast, Luke has stepped onto a landmine. Eniko has a very excitable opinion of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero. Okay.
Literally worse than Satan.
again.
But because it's a bad game, or just because it's not worth the €30?
I just think it's like borderline extortion. I just think it's just so bad. It's like they know fans are gonna dish it out, and they don't say, well, it's only 2 hours. I mean, so people are gonna go into this. Like Angry Joe made a video. He was like, well, this was a good mission. It wasn't great, but it was okay. Let's see what the other missions are like. And then he was like, wait, is this the end of the game?
Yeah, they're abusing their fan base for money, basically.
Yeah. It's very disingenuous.
Yeah, the reason is sort of understandable. They did it because the development cycle is just taking too long, and they basically need the money now. But at the same time, yeah, it's kind of like an excuse. We failed, so this is the only option we have left.
Yeah,
So you're
they
paying
weren't
for their
honest
failure.
about it.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have. But that's the slippery slope, isn't it? Like, sure, it starts innocent enough when Notch wants to sell Minecraft, even though it's an alpha. That's fine. And then it just goes and goes and goes until suddenly Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes.
Yeah, but Notch was always clear, and well, it's a work in progress. Minecraft isn't finished. There are bugs. We will fix it. You can suggest things, and we'll maybe implement that. He was always clear on what it was with the early access, and a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm not
games nowadays
arguing-
aren't.
I'm not arguing that Notch was like that was a bad thing. I mean, I think that was fine. But I mean, here we are, Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. Metal Ground Zeroes. That's a much better title for that game. It's a lot shorter.
My opinion of it, like gameplay wise, it's mechanics wise, it doesn't seem that bad, but it really does seem like they just chopped off the first section of their game and then sold it as a whole game on its own.
Yeah, they literally said that it was meant to be part of the same game.
Yeah. I actually have a question for you, Vin, as someone who plays games.
All right, shoot.
Like, how do you feel about early access? Because one of the things I could imagine happening is, a game comes into early access. You buy it, you play a lot of it, you get bored of it, and by the time that it's actually done, you're still kind of just bored with it. Is that a thing that can happen? Is that a thing that does happen?
Yes. And here's why.
So isn't that damaging for consumers too, then?
Mainly because I would, like in terms of I buy early access game, I play the hell out of it, and then I get burnt out on it. Yeah, that totally happens. In fact, it's happened with me for oh shit, what was it? I believe.
So burnt out you can't even remember what it was.
No, it's it actually happened with me for Assault Android Cactus. Believe it or not, I bought that thing pre-release back in. I bought it back in December when I first started streaming because it was heavily recommended to me. I bought it. I played it solid for, oh man, let me see. How many hours did I put into it? Probably not that many, but we'll see. So it'd be under, here we go. So I played it solid for 6 hours, and then I was like, oh, okay, well.
Done now.
Okay, so my reasoning was, okay, I played it solid for 6 hours. I put it down, and I said to myself, well, I'll just wait until it comes out in full release. Now it's April of 2014. I still haven't picked up the game.
Is it in full release?
It's not. It's still in development.
Well, that's... I mean, I don't want to talk bad about them because I know them and they're cool guys, but it is something that we talked about before, isn't it? Like, stuff just being in early access forever.
But yeah, that was basically my reasoning behind it. I put it down. I decided I'll wait until it's done. And 5 months later, like right now they're just at the point of adding in new characters, finishing up levels and stuff like that. But still, like I'm playing through it and yeah. But it does happen. Burnout does happen if you buy games early release and play the hell out of it.
Especially if they're really buggy and frustrating. I assume. I mean, I don't buy early access, so I wouldn't actually know. But I don't think it's a good thing for consumers to be done with a game before the game is even done. Oh well, that has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we actually discussed early access for Lumini at the start of development. Like, is it a thing we're going to look into? Because it will be profitable and we are students and we don't have money. But we were like, yeah, well, if Lumini is a single-player game with a static world, which will basically mean that if people play early access, they'll find every secret there is, they'll explore everything in the world, and we'll add more. So they'll explore some more, and by the time they pay for the full game or they play the full game or whatever, they already experienced everything the game is going to offer them. So we decided not to do it. We decided on releasing a free demo which gave an idea of what it was and make a whole game that gave much more. So there's basically more left for it.
Yeah, it's a bit easier with me and Mid-Boss because Mid-Boss is a roguelike, so it's kind of designed to be endlessly replayable. obviously right now it's not, but once I add more and more features, so it's not a problem that all games have, but I can definitely see some games having it.
Okay.
Maybe it's time for a break.
Yes, we will take a short 5-minute break here. And we'll see you guys in a bit.
Okay, I'll try to make it back in time.
No, it's fine. Okay, alright, Kino starts us off with generic question 82. What was the reason you started making your game?
Well, for us, it was a school project.
Yeah, it was basically the school project which offered us some sort of incubation program in which we had to make a game that was innovative and commercially viable while still being your own company. So it was basically, it's a school project and blah blah blah, and in the end we did our own thing and it worked. We decided the commercial viable thing wasn't that important for us, so we left that out and we tried to make something new. And like I said earlier, we talked about and brainstormed about what do games miss mechanic-wise and narrative-wise, and try to make a game that fixes all those problems, which was ambitious, but because we're students doing a school project, there was less risk involved. So that's basically the reason why we started making this game.
Okay, Eniko?
Bleh. That's my answer. Bleh.
Good answer.
Yeah. So in December 2012, a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, called Japan.
Okay.
This is a good story. Everyone settle down. It's a good story.
Okay.
So it's like a Friday, and I'm on ISE like every Friday because I'm not much of a people person. And so I'm on the Lot 'em Dare channel, and they're like, "Hey, Lot 'em Dare's this weekend. Are you going to join?" And I'm like, "What? Is that this weekend? Well, I've got nothing going on. I'll join." So I start working on Mid Boss. The theme was, you are the villain. So I thought about what I wanted to do with it, and I thought it might be nice to do a game where you're a dungeon monster and you want to become the final boss.
Ah.
And if you're a dungeon master, then you are the villain, and also if you take over the final boss, then you really are the villain. So
Okay.
I thought that was cool. So I worked on it Saturday, and I spent more time playing it myself than actually working on it. And then some of my Japanese friends were like, "Yeah, you gotta come eat sushi and go to karaoke tomorrow." And I'm like, but I've got this thing. And they were like, "No, you must come." So on Sunday, I went to eat sushi, and I did karaoke until like 5 a.m. because that's when it's cheapest. After 11 p.m. until 5 a.m, that's when you want to go to karaoke. So that's a tip if you're ever in Japan. They call it free time. So if you're ever in Japan, just be like, "Free time," and they'll know what you want. Seriously, it works. Anyway, and then it was Monday, and so I showed it to some of my friends, and they were like, "This is really fun." And I was like, "Yeah, it is. I should probably finish it." So I worked on it all day Monday. I pulled an all-nighter. I worked until like noon on Tuesday, which is still before the Lot 'em Dare deadline on Monday because Japan is in the future.
Oh, right, right.
That's why they have robots, because they're from the future. Anyway, and then I had to actually do a presentation at the university there in Japanese, so that was fun. But I did get it done, and some of my friends were like, "You, if you clean this up and sell it, we would buy it, and we bet more people would buy it. And that's actually the time in my life when I decided, oh, I need to become an indie developer, an indie game developer, like full time after I graduate. This is what I'm going to do with my life. So that was kind of an epiphany. And then I cleaned it up, and I hated it because there was this balance issue where if you possessed a creature, you would get its stats on top of your own stats, and eventually the gap in stats between you and the next creature would be so ginormous that they'd one-shot you. And if I ever wanted to add more creatures, that would just not work. And I spent like 4 or 5 iterations going through the design, trying to fix it. And every iteration that came after the first was worse. And then I just decided I'm going to scrap this. I'm going to start all over. That was like in April last year, so exactly a year ago. I was like, I'm going to scrap this, start all over, start fresh. And yeah, here we are. Year later, alpha.
Yeah.
And it works. I fixed all the game design problems I had. And all I had to do was spend a year doing it all over again.
I like origin stories that involve karaoke.
Yeah.
At 5 a.m. in the morning.
At 5 a.m.
Every game development process needs karaoke.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm writing this down
That
right now.
too, you know. That
So
would be so good if I lived in Japan now, I would just go free time karaoke and drink tons of the free soda and get hopped up on sugar and just sit in a karaoke room with my laptop coding. Really would.
Multitasking.
yeah, we'll go back to the rest of Speelbaars next time we speak. I'm not sure. We talk about what we're gonna do with the game, and we'll say, well, first we're gonna order some plane tickets to Japan and play karaoke or look at karaoke, sing
Yeah.
karaoke.
You-
And they're
you-
like, what?
How many of you guys are there, by the way?
Currently 6.
Hmm.
A lot of people. I'm just me.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 2 programmers. Luc is one, and we have Niels, and 2 artists, Olaf and Michiel, and an audio designer, Gijs, who makes the audio for the game. And me, I do the marketing and game design and level design of Lumini.
Oh, okay, cool. I think we had another question from Kino. What mechanics do you guys look for when it comes to great quote-unquote games?
Yeah, what's great, you know?
Fun mechanics that challenge you. And
Yeah, but
we're
there's no
wow,
such
this
thing.
is
Say
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
I
there's no
wouldn't say
such thing as
fun.
good and bad mechanics, really.
I actually did an experiment in my neurochemistry minor that Vin knows about.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And one of the things that came out of it is that people don't play games for fun, as it were. They don't do it because it makes them happier. Actually, I think a more accurate thing to say is people like games that are satisfying.
Yeah, it's a better word.
Yeah, it's
What
better.
I meant is like when you do the mechanic or when you do the execution of it, it's like, wow, this is cool. I want to do this again, and
Yeah.
something
That's
like that.
satisfying.
Something that's not like, well, jumping is jumping. That's okay, and shooting is shooting. Well, we all know that, but something new that's like, no, I haven't done this before.
Yeah, you
And it
really
could be
want the
everything.
mechanics where you can watch a player get it and be like, this is so cool. Like, I saw that when Parlock was playing Mid-Boss, and also when Kino, who asked the question, was playing it on stream. I could just see the lights turning on, you know, and they got it and they were really excited, and that's really what you want to go for, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're playtesting, there's always these really clear moments. Like if you take Lumini, every playtest I do, when people split up the swarm for the first time, they're like, "Oh God, what the hell is this? And how does this work?" And those are the moments you're basically looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, it starts with, oh my god, what the hell is this? What is going on? And it ends with, this is so awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finn, as a gamer, what do you think is great in a mechanic? What makes a great mechanic?
I agree with you guys that the mechanic has to be challenging, but I think a trait of a very good mechanic also is that the player, yeah, like Eniko says, the player discovers the mechanic for themselves. You know, like you guys say.
So it's intuitive.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's more so the sense of discovery. Like to me, games are sort of an exercise in exploration. You know, you're discovering new things all the time. It's more so that you're trying out new strategies, or you're discovering new abilities. You know, it's
That happens, by the way, even when you're a developer. Someone posted on Reddit, they were like, is this a bug? Because I made a zombie minion, because if you're a zombie, they have an ability that's an attack, and if you kill someone with it, the killed enemy becomes a minion zombie who will kill other things for you. And they were like, I'm life leeching my minion zombies. Is this a bug or is this intended? I was like, that's so creative. I've never thought about that before, because your minions don't attack back.
Yeah, we had the same thing with. Yeah, it's hard to explain the situation without spoiling something for Finn, but I'm gonna do it anyway. We had this moment where you can, when you can attack creatures when Lumini have momentum, which is basically they're speeding up, which you can do by going down or using the speed ability.
okay.
And the red Lumini have this shield which makes them immune to damage, and so they can hurt an enemy hitting them regardless of their weak spot. And the first time we
Ignore that. Continue.
first time we tested it, people were like using the speed ability to speed up, and right before impact,
You
they
switch
switched
to
to
the
the
red,
red
yeah.
Lumini and used the shield to do damage. It was like, well, that's
Oh, that's
actually pretty
clever.
smart. I haven't thought of switching it during your attack or something like that. I was like, wow, players are always more creative than you think they are, basically.
Oh
Kino,
yeah.
makes an interesting point in chat. He says, ease them into certain situations that makes them think but aren't so confusing that they'll never get it. And I had that in the Ultimate Boss. In the Ultimate Boss, skeletons were like everyone's worst nightmare. Because on the first floor you had bats, rats, and skeletons. And skeletons were the first aggro enemy, and they could be in the room like right next to where you spawn. And there was no speed mechanic or anything, so you couldn't run away once they aggroed you, and you were basically dead. And that was just not good because they weren't being eased into the game. So in the new version, I added zombies before skeletons, and I added the speed mechanic. And zombies are really slow. So Vin, what you should have done is just run away from the zombie because he can't catch you.
Okay.
And that's my way of easing people into the aggro enemies. It's like, well, there's a zombie. He's pretty tough, but you can run away. But you haven't thought of that. That's okay too.
or I can throw myself at him like whole body, just like come at me, Zombro.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of weird because you were dead set on killing that zombie and not running away. So it's weird you haven't found the red Lumini again.
Oh, I will find it. It's real. It's not a myth, Trend Noob.
Maybe it is though.
Bastards. Causing me to doubt my own sanity. You clever, horrible people. Oh, Kiddo Cabooses asked, but what if the zombies zombify other creatures and makes faster zombified creature whatever? Like,
Us zombies that were all screwed.
well, actually yes, we're all screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what if zombies are hostile to other opponents?
Oh, like that. Yeah, I made a flag in abilities that you can set that says the NPCs can't use this ability, so they actually can't do it themselves.
Oh, okay.
That's the only ability like that that does that.
You assholes. I see you in chat. Which one of you did it? Was it Luke or Steven?
It was Luke.
God damn it.
I'll just say. I'll just sit here saying nothing.
You asshole. But yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna remember that. Okay, let's see. Any other questions, or shall we move on to another topic? Because I do have one.
I think it would be wise to quickly switch topics. Yes.
Yeah.
Before it drags on even further.
This just took a turn for the bizarre.
Okay.
This is what we're like while we're developing, by the way.
I
Well-
need to get myself a team. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's secret to our success.
Yep.
when we're done with our internships, you can come by sometime at Hilversum for a day.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really cool. Although I am going to Denmark, but I am coming back for a month, so we can work something out. I'll have your guys contact my guys.
Well, I'm the guy contacting guys, but
Okay.
I'm
But
the
you
girl
have
contacting
guys,
guys, so
you're always welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'll definitely make an effort.
Okay.
Great.
Oh, speaking of Flappy, Kiddo Cabooses asks, what the secret is to making a popular fad game like Flappy Birds or
Minecraft.
or Minecraft? Like what is it in them that causes such a
If
huge
we
reaction?
knew, we'd be rich already.
Yeah, if there was a certain way to make a successful game, everyone would make a successful game, and the industry would be broken. It's
For all OP.
yeah, it's called an X factor, and the reason it's called like that in media and other media related stuff, it's like you don't know what it is. It's just something, and it's there, but you're never gonna find out what it is. It's time. It's being in the right place. It's being just good enough. It's by being noticed. It's by having the right connections. It's all those factors, and combine them and do that 10 times, and one of those 10 times, your game is gonna be a big hit.
That was actually something I was really concerned with Mid-Boss, because I knew that the old Mid-Boss had a certain something that appealed to people. But then I redid it from the ground up. And when I released the alpha, I was so scared that it lost. I realized that objectively it was the same sort of game, same mechanics. It should be fun. But before I released it, I was like, I'm so terrified that I'll release it and people will be like, well, this isn't fun at all. Because that happens. That's just the thing.
Yeah, it's always a risk to create something that people don't like, but that shouldn't stop you, because basically you make games because you want to make games. You don't want to make games for other people to... Yeah, you want them to have fun, but it's not the reason why you make games. At least it's not for me.
Like, you don't make games just for the money or just for the fame or popularity or something like that, right?
Well, I like fame, I like popularity, but it's not the reason why I make games.
Yeah.
I like
Because
those
there are
things
easier
too.
ways to get there.
I mean, we like it. but it's not, it's not the jumping
It's
point.
not why
Why?
you do it. Yeah.
Popularity and fame means a lot of people play our games and a lot of people have fun with it, and that's the most magical thing to me, seeing someone having fun with our game. It's like every time I see someone having fun with Lumini, I'm like, wow, this
like
is
magic.
great, it's magic, it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It is the
That's
best
why
feeling
you're
in the
looking for that.
world.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah,
that's
It's
why you're
not why
looking
you
for that fame.
start.
No,
I
it's
think
not
if
why
you
you
if
start.
you look at YouTubers, that's a good example. I mean, YouTubers, they start doing videos of the games they love because they love making the videos, and then the views follow. If they did it for the views, then nobody would ever get YouTube famous.
No, it would be a lot of cheap gimmicks. You would hear it in the YouTuber's voice, where it's like, "Oh, I'm so tired of this," either in the tone or in what he or she says or how he or she addresses the video. It's you can detect it. The audience.
There's actually some Minecraft players who feel they're like trapped in Minecraft. It's quite sad.
No, you feel it. You feel it.
It's the same thing for the big YouTubers like Yogscast. They do now they do a lot of games and different games, but when they started doing that, the feedback was really negative because it was basically, why are you not doing Minecraft?
Yeah. No, it's a real thing. You build your fan base on one game, and when you say, okay, I want to experiment, like say for example for you guys, if you build your fan base on a game like Lumini, and then you suddenly say one day, oh,
We're gonna make a modern military shooter in all shades of brown.
Yes, basically. And you do it because you want to have fun or something like that. Your fans will be like, what the hell are you doing? Bring back the old stuff. And that's sort of what happens.
A bunch of old people.
Your fans are a bunch of
Bring
old-
back
Well, that is our target demographic, of course, old people.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're
Very
trying
much.
to sell Lumini at old people homes and stuff like that. We go door by door. Well, you want to play Lumini?
Yeah, they don't understand online sales, so we just bring the product to them.
Yeah, the fun part is they tend to forget in 5 minutes, so you can go back again and try again.
Oh my god.
Kids, when we were young, we had to walk uphill 10 miles in the snow barefoot to get a red Lumini.
I am never gonna hear the end of that, am I?
That's why that's why Finn likes our game, because he keeps forgetting how to get certain stuff in the game, like red Luminis.
I did not forget. I just never figured it out in the first place. I sort of stumbled across it.
The first time you got them, was that in your video?
No, I played your game for like 2 hours before even jumping into the video. And when I jumped into the video, I was like, wait, I'm doing the exact same thing. Why am I not getting? Oh my god, that was my feeling.
Just look at the moment what is really happening right before you get them.
Or you could cheat and just read Indie Game Mag. They figured it out.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Well,
Sure,
they're a team.
I was surprised they figured it
is
out.
what they're saying.
Well, I am only one man. They have a whole team.
that is true.
That is true. But they were one of the first who actually figured it out. Not like, well, there are red Lumini, but that actually said, well, this is the way to get them.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have any more questions on the chat? If not, I do have one last topic to get into before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we should go into the topic.
Okay.
I think it would be good.
Yeah, I'm having fun, so I like answering questions and topics.
All right. Well, we'll just get into the topic. All right. Steam has been releasing a lot of older games recently. How do you guys, as indie developers, feel about that?
I like it. Yeah, sure, why not?
You can
Yeah.
replay games you liked from a long time ago.
Yeah, it's basically still a great game. They're just reselling it and having success with it, but it's not like they're just shuffling garbage. Still,
Actually,
like, yeah, well,
they,
it's still
they
Age
are
of
kind of putting a lot of shovelware on there now.
Yeah, maybe they are, but if you take Age of Mythology,
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
shovelware.
it was a great game. It still is a great game, so I don't see anything wrong with it, with releasing it on Steam and try to sell it again, because they are selling a certain level of quality.
Okay. Let me see.
Well,
I
my
think it's a bit
opinion on
weird
it-
to call it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't read a lot about Age of Mythology. I'm not sure what the extended part is gonna be, because you had Age of Empires HD, which wasn't even really HD, and basically the old game, and it was like, well, this is great, but
It was the old game with in HD resolution. I mean, not HD resolution, but like widescreen resolution.
yeah.
Age of Mythology. I'm a big Age of Empires, Age of Mythology fan. So, I mean, I actually already have the games, but it's nice to see
Yeah,
them
same
get
for me,
resurgent.
but
Yeah, it's nice to see them come back in some way.
oh yeah, Age of Mythology is coming back, but I still haven't installed on my laptop, and I played it like 3 months ago. So
Yeah, one thing that might be an issue is the fact that they are charging a lot of money for really old games, basically just relying on nostalgia. Because I saw just today an article on Kotaku about how they're bringing back games like Putt Putt and Pajama Sam and Freddy Fish.
Yeah,
And-
that's what I'm getting into. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the complete package, basically, then you get like 10 games that would normally be like, what, 50 cents? You have to buy the pack for like 45 euros, which is pretty...
It's ridiculous.
That's a lot of money for really outdated
Literally
games.
worse than Satan.
Again.
Oh, okay, so on Steam we have Putt Putt Joins the Parade, originally released January 1st of 1992. It's currently on sale actually for $3.50, but it's planned to go like on regular sale for $7. Now
Well,
for
Commander Keen and Doom. Sorry, I'm reacting to someone in chat who's saying Commander Keen and Doom are on Steam now.
okay,
Those have been on Steam for a while, like ages.
yeah.
So that's actually from before they started doing all this. Carry on.
But like a game from 1992, I don't know what would a price for that be? I mean, that's literally 22 years ago.
Does it even matter what the price is? Because the original developers at that point are probably not going to see any of the money anyway. So they're just going to people who bought like the franchise or something. And I'm like, I don't care about them at all. That's
it's true,
me
but
personally.
But it's a game. If you take well, I'll take Commander Keen because it's in the chat and relevant. But because it's a pixel game. It's an adventure. It's a fun game, and I enjoyed playing it. But what's the difference with someone making an indie game right now, which could also be a pixel game with a great fun adventure, but the same quality as Commander Keen at that time? If the indie is charging $7, it's okay. But what is wrong with Commander Keen charging $7 for it? I get that if you're charging $40 for it, it's not comparable. But $7 is the same you would ask for an indie game with the same quality at the moment.
Well, that's
I think that's
assuming
reasonable.
that's assuming that's the same quality, of course.
Yeah. But I think Jane said another thing. That one thing people have complained about is rapid releases of all the games pushing new, lesser known games off the front page. And this is what I want to focus on.
That's
The
Steam
discoverability problem.
Yeah.
Yes, what Steam seems to be doing, like, I think it's good that Steam is letting lots of stuff onto Steam. Why do I think this is good? Because I freaking hate Greenlight. Greenlight is
agreed.
terrible for indies and terrible for everyone except for Valve. Anyway, if they say they want to get rid of Greenlight, they're basically moving to a more App Store model instead of a curated storefront, which is what they used to be. They'd be very stringent about quality and whatnot. Well, the quality standards are obviously very low. Lots of people are dumping their back catalogs onto Steam, which is good, because all of this means maybe eventually indies can just put up their game on Steam and be done. And then it's no longer a life and death struggle to get through Greenlight. That's good. The problem is Valve is a freaking mess because they have this utopian flat company structure. Do you guys know about that?
Yeah, they don't have a boss and a management structure. Everyone has the same input, basically.
Yeah, so basically a lot of stuff just doesn't get done because nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
And part of the problem is Steam needs to have a lot more options for discoverability than just the tags that they added if they're going to do this. So that's my worry with this whole thing. So in general, I'm positive towards it because I think all the games should be allowed on Steam. A lot of older games still have merit. I think Steam should be less curated, but the problem is, how are you going to find anything? And right now, you can't distinguish between an actual new release, like a game that's actually new, and a game that's really old but just got dumped into Steam because some publisher is dumping their back catalog on it. And that's something that they need to fix.
Yeah, they do. But a lot of people talk about Steam like it's not the discoverability is a problem and Steam should work on that because a lot of indies feel their games don't get acknowledged equally with games that they think are evenly good. But with the system they have now, quality games will surface. Because getting on Steam isn't... I read something about it last week, that getting on Steam isn't an assurance that people would download and play your game. There are a lot of games with the popular game and the least popular game list that they implemented. It's like, well, a lot of games that are on Steam that are actually bad don't get played. They don't get downloads. So there's still a quality assurance to it. Because a lot of indies have like, well, Steam is this magical place. If I get on Steam, I'll sell. And now they are getting mad at Steam because the discoverability gets worse because people are putting their backlog on it. People are re-releasing games and a lot of pre-alpha stuff. And they're like, well, my game doesn't get noticed anymore when I get on Steam. And I put in a lot of work to get there. But if your game is really good and it explains it, then in the end, people will end up playing your game through word of mouth advertisement and stuff like that. I think a lot of indies need to look beyond Steam even, because most of them are like, well, Steam is the place to be, and when I'm on Steam, it will be okay. They have no backup plan whatsoever to sell their game.
Well,
Yes.
a lot of indies just need to be better at marketing in general. I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, a lot of indies are people who like to make games. They're coders or they're artists. They're not people who are very good at marketing. I happen to have a major in communication, so I do know marketing, but that's not most people. I think most people are also not like you, that they know marketing. So I don't know. I do think it's bad when you have this life and death struggle to get onto Steam, and you have to also pay them and, neglect actually getting sales from your other websites or direct sales to focus on getting votes for Greenlight to get on Steam, and then the discoverability shit. I think that's a legit complaint. I think if they're going to do what they're doing, they need to get rid of Greenlight.
Yeah, but also a problem is currently a lot of gamers use Steam as a quality seal. Well, your game is not on Steam, so I guess it isn't that good. So I
Well,
won't
that's
buy
gonna
it.
go away pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's a positive to take away from the way Steam is operating right now. But I do agree that Greenlight is just a bad decision. It's not democratic. It's based on basically graphics. If your game is graphically satisfying, you'll get votes. If it's not, then you don't. And since Valve announced that Greenlight will go, it's basically dead. So a lot of games that are in Greenlight, since they announced that they will be phasing out Greenlight, will have a hard time to even get through it. We're currently on Greenlight, and the only percentage increase to the top 100 we get is when another batch of 75 games above us get pushed onto Steam, and then we'll go up 8% because the vote count gets lower.
It's basically a waiting list right now.
Sheepolution is asking, what do we mean by that will go away? As in Steam being like a seal of quality.
I think
They've got really bad things on there now.
Yeah, Greenlight games that get admitted are just most of the times just not really that good.
Yeah, also, but there's also back catalogs of really shovelware, terrible games. And there's that one game that was like kickstarted and then it wasn't finished and they just put it on Steam anyway. Just doesn't have an end. Just stops in the middle. Like, Steam is long gone from the days where you were like, oh, if it's on Steam, it has to be a decent game. It's just not true anymore.
Yeah, they only try to fix things like that when it gets media attention. Like, for instance, the game that you mentioned, after it got a lot of media attention for basically sucking, that's when Valve acted up and said, okay, we'll take it down and we'll try to do something about it. But that's only afterwards.
Well, they haven't, even in the big stinks, like, what was that? Not Stanley Parable, the one that's that also has a name in there. Day one, Gary's
Gary's incident, yes.
Wasn't there a day one in there somewhere too?
Yeah, it was. It's day one Gary's incident, which initially got confused a lot with Gary's mod. Oh, good lord!
Which is also a terrible game. Like, there's so many examples now of terrible games being on Steam.
Yeah, the point is, Steam has this policy that if you get through Greenlight, or we already dealt with a developer or a publisher, then we're like, well, yeah, talk to us and you can release your game on here. Which lowers the barrier of checking if the game is actually good. I know a lot of people who got through Greenlight, or I suspect a lot of developers that get through Greenlight, they make a quality game, they get through Greenlight, and then they shove everything they have on Steam, basically. Because they already have this access through Valve, because they got through Greenlight, and Valve basically gives them a free pass, unless they actually check the game.
It's just smart business.
So basically you need to create one quality game to push every other travel you have on Steam.
James said earlier, apparently the market is being flooded with shovelware from publishers in order to push down newer games. Is actually on purpose.
I don't think it's on purpose.
I don't think so.
I think Steam just decided, we don't care anymore.
Yeah,
That's what it
basically
seems
took
like
a quality assurance off of it. They were like, yeah, well, we get too many games that we need to check, so we'll let the community check because there's too much work for us to do. And
and then they realized the community shit.
Yeah, I'm not trying to offend the followers of the stream here, but basically the internet community sucks. They have no clue on what is a good game and what isn't. They go, well, like Goat Simulator. It's like, well, goats are good. Well, the game isn't playable, but whatever.
Ghosts are funny.
Don't
And
get
there
me.
are a lot of people who know
I
what they're
don't like
talking
that
about.
game.
But
I'm
the
sorry if
most,
I offended
the
anyone.
bunch of the people.
Yeah, don't get me started on Goat Simulator.
It's just so. It's basically YouTuber bait too. That's the worst. It's like they made a game that was really dumb and really buggy and really shallowly funny, knowing that lots of YouTubers were going to make a few videos of it and then they get lots of attention and they'd sell lots of copies.
Yeah, what I like
So
about Goat,
cynical.
what I like about Simulator is that the developer was so honest about how much the game sucked. Like he literally said, don't buy this game, spend your money elsewhere, and people just bought it anyway. Because it's one of those things that you just share with friends, just play it for 5 minutes. Like, look at how shitty this game is. That's the only reason that it's selling so well.
And also, I believe it was designed originally as an internal game dev, just to make something. And apparently, I think PewDiePie or someone caught wind of it. And he immediately started publicizing it. And that sort of was what drove all of this madness.
But when you get PewDiePie, you're not going to let that go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let that go.
I'd make trash or whatever if PewDiePie mentions it.
Yeah. PewDiePie, if you're watching
but
this, we'll
Sounds
make
like a business
trash games
strategy.
for you. Just put them on your YouTube channel, please. We need to eat.
But it's tied. This problem is tied into the marketing problem. Basically, there are a few people who have a lot of influence on the games industry, and if they tell you something is good, even if it's good or it's not good, because they give it attention, your game is going to be a success. So it isn't about the quality of your game. It isn't about how good your game is. It's about the right people noticing your game.
Yeah.
Which is, I
That's-
think,
that's
inherently
a
bad
problem,
for the
I
industry.
think, because the heyday of YouTube is also coming to a close. Because I see Vin and a lot of YouTuber friends I have, like spending years to get like over 1,000 subscribers, and it wasn't like that like 5 years ago. And I think with the YouTube has like this self-reinforcing system, so people like PewDiePie or Markiplier or Total Biscuit or all the Minecraft Let's Players who got in early on the Minecraft craze, they're all getting bigger and bigger, and the rest of the pack just doesn't get seen, and so you have less and less gatekeepers to success.
Yeah, basically, if you miss the boat, you're screwed.
Yeah, so you have like the YouTuber gatekeepers on the one hand, and then you have Valve with their green light bullshit being a gatekeeper on the other hand. And as an indie, you're like, well, might as well play the lottery.
Yeah, that's basically the problem. I mean, I mailed like maybe 10 times to bigger sites, and you just don't get noticed. While people we know from school who make another game, mailed them, got called out on sending a bad mail. So basically do it worse than us, but actually apologized to the guys and got their game covered. And now everything they sent gets covered.
Yeah, because they have an in.
Yeah, they
I was
have an in.
actually
It's a
talking
foot in the
to-
door.
I was talking to Andres earlier, and he totally wanted to quote me on this, so I'm going to dig a hole, get in it, and talk about what I said to him. Okay, Christine Love, Interstellar Selfie Station, right?
Okay.
It's basically something that takes your webcam output and runs a dithering Game Boy like color reduction filter on it and then saves the image.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yep.
Do you know which other game has a dithering Game Boy filter in it that recently came out? May or not start with an M and end in OS.
Okay. All right. Go.
But
go.
I'm not famous.
Um,
Why is this? I even have more palettes. I have Game Boy, I have EGA, I have CGA, I have C64, I have VIC-20, I have Apple II. You know, why am I not famous? Tell me, why am I not famous? I have a dithering filter.
Yeah, it's the same problem.
I would imagine it's because ISS is not actually a game.
No, I would imagine it's because I'm not Christine Love, so everything I touch does not in fact turn to gold.
Uh,
And that may sound jealous and petty,
no,
but it's not intended to.
yeah, Jane, we're not saying that the ISS is what made Christine Love famous, but rather the inverse. That Christine Love
because she is famous, ISS
is famous as well.
famous. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem isn't
It's not about
you get,
what you make, it's about who you know.
yeah, and it's
Or
not
who
not
knows.
about jealousy, about seeing other people around you making games and get the attention they need, because they are making what they want to make, and well, I'm happy for them. But in the end, it's like, well, my game is also good. The reception is good. The people who play it think it's good, but in the end, you
just can't
need
get it
the
noticed.
experience. You get.
Yeah.
I actually thought about writing the same email, fuck it up, make them angry, call us out, then talk to them, apologize, and get there. Because basically that seems to work.
Have already done that. I know people have already done that. I mean, you see indie devs starting stupid bullshit drama all the time to get attention.
I'm gonna talk about something here, which I won't talk about anymore because I know Luc doesn't like it. But basically, Niels and me made a silly game for a school project of 3 weeks, and the goal was to sell it. It was like, well, you're a raccoon, you catch stars, you bounce around, and you go into space. We called it
Sounds like Mario.
Starcoon. Yeah, but we called it Starcoon. Basically, if you put it along Lumini is actually a game that's spent time on designing. We had a whole team working on it. It's better. People like playing it instead of a boring arcade game, which needed for high score. But the name Starcoon has the word coon in it, which is a racial slur in America. And we mailed that, and Kotaku picked it up.
Wow.
Because it was racial. They said, hey, you might want to rethink the name. Then we rethought the name and dropped the name.
Really?
Then Polygon wrote this thing about it, and Giant Bomb had a whole topic about it. And a lot of websites were like, well, these poor developers changed the game and stuff. And we got a lot of attention for that game. And now we have a good game with no shit about it. We have a game that's just good, no racial slurs, basically, and we can't get onto big sites and don't get the attention we need.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really messed up system. So that's why I don't think people always say if you make a great game, people will get it, but that's just not true.
No. Okay.
People will get the bad game that they know about instead of the great game that they can't be bothered to know about.
So I'm looking at the link that Luke just posted. So this is all the articles that Kotaku has on Starcoon. The bottom one is what not to name your spacefaring raccoon video game.
Yeah, that was the first article.
The middle one,
and it's wacky too, so that's another bonus point.
Yeah. And then at the very top, what the Washington Redskins could learn from a game named Starcoon.
That was actually a pretty good article.
Yeah, the article was pretty good because the point was made, but the whole problem is like it was basically a game jam game. It's buggy and stuff like that, and it wasn't. All the attention wasn't about the game, because no one ever played the game, and no one ever said, "Well, the game is fun or good." But everyone talked about the name, but it did give the attention.
Lots of exposure.
And exposure for the game.
Jeez.
This whole conversation has turned very cynical and dark.
Yeah, it's... People, hit us with some more questions.
Welcome to the Game Dev Podcast, people, where we hate everything.
Well, I had this last thing to say about the marketing. What you're currently seeing is that games like Polygon and Kotaku and Destructoid are covering games that aren't brought to them by actually the developers, because every developer wants their game noticed. But when people who like the games reach out to them like, you should cover this game, then they're like, well, people are telling us we should cover a game, so we'll cover it. And you see that more and more, but a lot of people are hesitant of spreading the word. So everyone, if you like Lumini, please write to Kotaku. Tell us you need to write about Lumini.
Honestly, though,
and about Midbus.
As a communication major, I'm gonna say something that might sound very cynical, but as an independent developer, marketing your game is actually not the thing that you're supposed to be marketing. You're supposed to market you. Indie developers, like, look at Indie Game the movie. It's not about the games that they made. Nobody cares about Meat Boy or Fez or Braid. Okay, people do care about Meat Boy and Fez and Braid, but they want to hear about the developers. They're the cool thing. What you want to create, what you want to market is a face. It's a person, it's an indie developer. It's a cult of personality. And then the rest will come. And I think a lot of the really big, famous indie devs are very good at creating that cult of personality. You have Remy from Flambeer. He makes everything into a PR moment. Very well done for him, by the way. You have Christine Love, who has many, many adoring fans. Just lots and lots of people like that. And I think, like, just sending your game to a news site is not going to do it anymore.
No, but it's like Phil Fish is known for Vaz, but the first time someone talked to Phil Fish and found out who he was because they saw the game Vaz and wrote about it. That's the whole problem. It's a two-way street. You need your game to get noticed, to get people interested in you, and then you need to draw in people to write about you and your game because you are actually an interesting person. But it's the same for YouTubers. To get noticed, you have to make your own personality. You have to stand out from the others. Like, you have PewDiePie, who's really
insane,
ADHD insane with an accent, and a lot of people who actually clone him and try to do that, they don't get noticed. Because, well, there's already PewDiePie, so why would I watch you? You need to stand out.
Yeah, you need to do something of your own.
But to get there, you first need someone big to notice you and say, like, to his 100,000 followers, look at this guy, he's cool. And that's the problem. Like, I'm a fun guy and I have my problems and you can make me really angry, and when I'm angry I do silly things and stuff like that.
Do you want to share anything with the group here?
No,
I want to talk about that. I'll make the podcast last another 3 hours. But the point is, no one knows me because every mail I sent, I needed to be about my game, because I can't write, hey, I'm a fun guy, I have these and these problems, you can talk to me, I have this. Oh, and by the way, I'm making a game.
Yeah, but you guys have it more difficult, actually, I would say, because you're a team. Because when people talk about mid-boss, I am mid-boss. And I don't mean that in a sort of, arrogant, aggrandizing way. Basically, you can't have mid-boss without me, but you guys, there's like a team, so there can't be an origin story that goes, well, this one night, this one weekend, karaoke all night long, bada boom, bada bing, mid-boss, Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure I agree with that. But
the face.
Yeah, the problem is that I'm running Twitter, which is our most successful outlet to the world. And a lot of people know me and know Twitter. And when they see us, they're like, yeah, wow, great, this is Speelbaars. And who of you guys does the Twitter? And that's what they're interested in. And I'm like, yeah, well, we have 5 other guys who make the game. Like, yeah, I run the Twitter, and look at those, the great artists and great programmers. Yeah, I know, I run the Twitter, and I invited you to play the game. You can play the game, but look at the guy who made the music. But they're interested in the face and the person they talk to.
Yeah.
Well, they basically need someone to talk to, and you're the one they talk to. But marketing-wise, we are basically the logo. We are the fish, basically. That's the face we have.
Yep, there we go. That fish with the gamepad.
And
That actually looks like a very terrified fish, by the way.
but
Like,
it
oh
is
my god,
noticeable.
what is this? I don't even know.
But the point is, you need a face, and it doesn't matter what face it is. But when you meet people in real life, there isn't a fish. We need a fish that actually looks like that, can hold a gamepad and talk to people. But
What you need-
to dye my hair lilac.
What you need is to like have one of you guys in a costume at every convention.
we talked about that many times. We tried to put Michiel in a costume, but he keeps refusing it.
It's on our to-do list, definitely.
That's also a thing. Like portraying an image. Like I've joked about this to my friends. Like maybe I should dye my hair an outrageous neon color and get piercings and some tattoos, and then I can be like all the other hip indie chicks developers that are out there, because I'm not. And that's also part of building an image. Like some developers always wear a certain hat, like say Notch.
Yeah.
Oh, he has the fedora, I want to say?
He wears the fedora.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which he
has the
doesn't
fedora and
actually
the coat.
wear most of the time, but on everything he markets, he wears the fedora.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a marketing thing. So maybe my marketing thing needs to be like neon hair or something.
Well, I have a glorious beard.
You do.
You
do.
should market the heck out of that.
Yeah, I try to. A lot of people who know me actually know me because of the beard. Actually, people call me the beard, but
You don't sound like you have a glorious beard.
no, I sound like I'm some tiny little boy of 12 years old. I know, but that's why I wear the
I
beard.
didn't say that.
When
It's
I'm in the
compensating.
supermarket and I want to buy my beer, it's like, well, you have a beard, so you don't have to show your ID. And when I don't have a beard and I start talking to people, they look at the ID and they said, "Didn't you fake this?"
You're compensating for something.
But no, I understand. Like, you have to associate maybe not your game, but definitely your studio with an image.
Yeah.
Well, people
And it's
are
like-
interested in indie games just as much for the people behind them as for the actual games.
Yeah, but it's like Eniko said. It's like she's basically the only one making the game, so it's her face and it's okay. But I'm doing the marketing and talking to people. But if I become the face of Speelbaars, it's not fair to the other people who actually basically put more technical work in the game than I do.
But isn't that the same way with like bands or something?
Yeah, it's
Like,
the same way
if
with
you're
bands.
In a band, it's the entire band, but the only one who gets any press is the lead singer.
Yeah, it's the same problem.
So you're the lead singer.
Yeah, but it's the reason
Which is
I
good
try
for karaoke.
to.
But
I
our
tried to-
lead singer
Full
is a fish,
circle.
basically.
Yeah, but the lead singer is a fish on internet. But
That's
in
just
real
not
life,
possible
I'm not a
unless
fish.
you're-
But people
unless
are
you're
interested in who
gorillas.
controls the fish.
So fish gorillas. You
Yeah.
need to be fish gorillas.
We need to make a holographic fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's why I try to get other people from Speelbaars into stuff like this. That's why Luc is here and other interviews are done by other people and stuff like that. Because basically I'm the guy doing the marketing and I'm the guy. Yeah, I do a lot of design and I design the levels, but in actual work hours and content creation of the game, I do the least work part with our sound designer. That's basically the whole point. The artist and the programmers put a lot more time and effort into creating Lumini than I do. Basically, my role is to get Lumini out there and get people to play it. But most of the attention goes to me, and I do feel guilty about that.
So
We
Luke,
we
how
still
does
love
that
you,
make you feel?
Makes me feel better about myself. No, nah. I mean, in the end, I mean, right now, if you look at the success of Lumini up to this point, without marketing, we wouldn't be nearly as far. So it's not like marketing is less important than the actual production of the game. It's equally
Oh no,
important.
definitely.
Yeah, but I
That's the
like
problem
talking
with
to
being the
people.
face because you're the only person like having to split your time between development and marketing. It's not a good thing.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true, but
We love you, man.
I know. I don't love you though.
That's
I only
okay.
love myself. So
But yeah, no, you gotta. It is weird. I'll say.
How does it work for YouTubers?
Oh, well, to be
Marketing.
honest,
does it work for YouTubers?
like
Let's
does
ask that question first.
first of all, does it work? Honestly, in terms of marketing, our content is our marketing. You know, it's the videos we make are both advertisements as well as product. It's It's not like we're making a game or we have something to sell. It's that what you're watching is what we're selling.
Yeah,
That
but it's the
must
same
be
for
so
game
nice.
developers.
Well,
Well, no, in game development you have a split between the game and the actual trailers and screenshots, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, okay, it's sort of true, but basically, if your game is not good and it's not selling, the game developer will disappear basically because he can't pay for his dinner. So in the end, it's still about the games.
a little bit cynical here, but YouTubers, yeah, basically no. Trent is right. He says that with with the Kappa sushi face, but YouTubers, it very is much every man for himself at this point. So basically, what we're selling is our audience because we make everything through ad revenue.
But it doesn't have to be. That's the part that really disappoints me about YouTube. When you look at indies, I mean, I've been talking about the big indies and the popular indies and how everything they touch turns to gold. And that's fine. Because what you do see is that people like Raimi and people like Mike Bithell and lots of indies who got a leg up from some other indie help some other indie also get a leg up. So that's good. And I don't see why YouTubers can't do that. Like, why can't Total Biscuit do like a shout out once every blue moon? Why can't PewDiePie feature another YouTuber sometimes?
Oh yeah, but the problem with that is if Rami is really known for pushing other indies, but he pushes one indie like every week, in which like 100 indies contacted him with basically the same games in quality. It's the same thing. You create people that are so powerful and basically what you call gatekeepers, which basically decide if a game gets a success or not.
Well, yeah, but eventually you do just have to network to be successful. You just can't do something in isolation and just
I
expect
know
it to
Rami
become a
personally, and
success.
I know he played our game, and he liked our game, and he told us what could be better, and he said, well, I'm gonna follow your game, but he hasn't pushed us anywhere. It's not basically about networking, it's about there are 10 people who talk to him, 10 games he plays, and he decides, well, I have time in my own time to push one, and then I'll forget the other 9, because next week I have another 10 games that I can pick one, and if you're not that game, that's the problem with all those outlets for exposure.
Yeah, it's two parts. One, you have to network with the person, and two, you have to somehow get the person to choose you or choose your game. Like, yeah, I say for example, for some, strike of lightning, I get to meet Total Biscuit or I get to meet PewDiePie and they get to know me. It's one thing to know them and to talk to them. It's another thing for them to talk to you publicly or to give you shout-outs. That's the hard part.
Yeah, but everyone picks their favorites. I mean, I know a lot of YouTubers and streamers, and there's only a couple of them I actively support. Voice crack there. I mean, I like Vin. I like you. You're my buddy, so I try to help you out. I like Andres. I don't know why exactly. There was just something about his videos that I liked. So, I tried to push his stuff, but like, there's so many other people that I know, like Parlock or Kino or Geek Remix, that I just don't push because I don't know.
It's the same problem. We had a lot of YouTubers cover our games. We tried to push them evenly, and we pushed everything they put out on our website. But you get to a point where your audience is like, well, you're pushing
Too
10
many.
YouTubers a week. So basically, every YouTuber your account is supposed to be good.
So they
your
get
word is
oversaturated and
nothing,
stop caring.
nothing worth to me.
It's
So
it's
you need to decide to push one because people think, well, you're putting one, so it's supposed to be good because you're taking the effort to push one. If you're taking the effort, actually, it takes more time and effort to push 10, but somehow people think it's not worth anything because you're pushing more.
Yeah.
I would say it's the value of selectivity.
Yeah.
Like basically green light. And quote unquote shovelware. Even if it may not be, just the sheer volume of it, it's too much for them to consume.
Yeah.
So they're looking to you and to me to basically make the choices. And I would think that's part of why a lot of YouTubers don't do shout outs that often. Because if you shout out one random person without, if you shout out one channel, their word's gonna spread like, oh, this big name shouts out channels. Like, take Northern Lion, for example. Yeah. He openly says, like, hey, if you talk to me and if I like you, I'll shout out your channel. Now I wonder how many channels contact him regularly hoping for a shout out.
Yeah.
Insane amounts.
This is why I don't contact people like that for shoutouts. It's like, if it happens, it's cool. Otherwise, whatever.
But you're actually not partaking in the lottery. But if you see people around you,
elect not to play.
Yeah.
I'll just do it my own way because I'm bloody stubborn.
Yeah, it's the same with us because the earlier people around us, which I talked about, are called Vogelsap, and they made this game called The Flock. And I talked to I talked to the developer of them, Jeroen, and he said, well, yeah, we know Rami, but we actually said to him, could you help us push our game? And Rami said, sure. So he talked to some people, and it helped them even more, besides the argument they had with the website that covered them. But I'm too stubborn to go to Rami and ask, can you push our game? Because then it's, well, this is Lumini, it's the game that Rami said was good. But we want to know, we are Speelbaars, and we make a great game. We want to do it on our own account. And it's a choice that you make, but it's less successful and harder to reach.
I wouldn't hesitate to call in favors. That's the thing. I think when you get to the point where you're just mass mailing people asking for favors that they're not going to give you anyway, you're just spending a lot of time and energy in something that's not going to yield any results, and I'd rather do it the different way. I mean, part of the reason why I do this podcast is so people like you can invite me up to where you guys work and we can have a nice day and then we can network and, we can help each other. Or maybe we can't, but whatever. So that's fine with me. But I'm not going to try and email Rami and ask him to favor my game because he's not gonna. And I'm going to spend a lot of emotional energy and time on sending the perfect email and it's not going to do anything. Might as well use that time to actually develop my bloody game.
Yeah, it's the same feeling I have when I'm mailing websites. I know Rami personally, but I think it's a lot about knowing people personally. And for big press, it's basically means you need to go to international events in America.
Yeah,
to get there.
Yeah, that is true,
there's
but
Gamescom and GDC Europe.
Yeah, that's true.
That kind of things. Kind of, sort of. Not really.
But at the same time, I mean, we have mailed a lot, and
out of the hundreds of mails we sent, we maybe got like a few replies, but still, that's a few replies. You know, if you don't try, you wouldn't even have gotten that. So, you know, why not try?
Yeah, if we wouldn't have tried, we wouldn't have been here and known you guys, and wouldn't have talked about how it's not working at the moment. Well, clearly it is, but not at the scale we want to.
You'll
Everyone
get
wants
there.
to reach the scale of the popular people.
Yep. Yep, that is completely true.
It's like high school all over again.
Oh, don't remind me.
Everyone in this business, like, at them. But I will say, because we've been bitching a lot about how hard it is for the little guy, I will say, you guys, no offense, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. No offense, your game is not done.
No,
Same
it
with
isn't.
me, my
No.
game is not done.
Yeah.
Assault Android Cactus game is nearly done, but it's not done. And the thing with indies is there's so many indies now, like every guy and his dog is saying like, I'm an indie game developer. But they don't finish anything aside from some game jam games. Like
Yeah.
most indies who even reach a release, like I did with Mid Boss, most of them don't follow through even at that point and finish the game and release it. So I understand why the gatekeepers, as it were, need to pick the ones that look most promising and like most like they're actually gonna put their money where their mouth is and see this thing through, because that's a problem a lot of indies have. They don't finish anything. And I think
So it's
just
about
finishing is
proving
one
that.
of the most important things you can do.
Yeah, that's true.
That's actually something that happens quite a lot at our school with project, is that all of them have this sort of mentality of it's finished when it's finished, and as a
And
result,
then it's
the
never
development
finished.
it just drags on. So for our game, we've set a very strict deadline. You know, this is when the game needs to be done, so that we have something to work toward.
I always, when I start on a game, I come up with a grand idea and then I pare it down to the barest minimum concept. And then I implement that and then I decide what features I need to add to make it more fun. And then that's basically my game plan. But I can do that because I'm just one person, so I don't have to write anything down.
Yeah, no, when you have a team of 6, it becomes a little bit more.
A little bit more tricky, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more tricky, but still it's doable. I mean, I'm sort of the team manager, and yeah, there's things that need to be managed, but at the same time, you have so little people that you can still sit in one room and be able to talk with everyone at the same time. So it's a very personal sort of cooperation, whereas with a big company, you know, you have your entire team scattered over different rooms, so you can. It's not very personal. So I think one of our strengths is that our teamwork is on a very personal level.
Jane is actually mentioning something very interesting in the chat related to this. She says that people have called her an indie game developer despite the fact that she has never written a line of code or drawn any concept art or, you know, even mentioned any of her ideas. It's like this indie by association thing that's also been going around. Like, people are so, like, I had this imposter syndrome feeling for the longest time, daring to call myself an indie dev. It seems a lot of people don't have it anymore. Like, they just take these really, I don't want to say terrible, but like super basic games, and they're like, I'm an indie developer, and then they're gonna go write emails to news sites, and that's just not gonna work out for anyone.
Yeah, I
It's
think
bad
people
enough.
are too quickly satisfied with what they produce. They're not willing enough to iterate upon what they already have.
Yeah, that's another thing that a lot of indies don't do. You have a lot of indies who don't finish stuff, and you have indies who finish too much stuff. Like if you look at Spelunky, the the iterated version, the latest version, is the one that got famous, I think. Not entirely sure.
Yeah, the first one got famous enough to get the iterated new version out. It did have some following and community online.
Yeah, but it had like a smaller cult following.
Yeah.
But if they'd just been satisfied with that, they wouldn't have been like this big brand name.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going up on about 2.5 hours, so
Yeah, pretty long.
so I honestly only expected to last 1.5 hours, if that, but I think now is a good time to call a wrap up, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, sure.
I'm getting pretty tired.
Alright, so any last questions from the chat here? Okay. If there are no last questions, how about we wrap up with you guys basically plugging all of your stuff. You know, your links your links are all up on the screen, but feel free to post them in chat so people can you asshole. Feel free to post it in the chat as well so people can just copy and paste.
Sure.
Sounds great. I'll try to get the green light link.
I'm way ahead of you.
All about it.
Wow.
I'm
Oh.
a mutt. You can't
And-
stop me.
And write to big websites about us.
Yeah, we need evangelists.
Yeah, go go to Kotaku and said, hey, you need to cover this game, Lumini. And Midboss, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm Eniko. My Twitter is at Anichan. My game studio page is KitsuneGames.com. Midboss can be found at midboss.net. And today I have made a press kit. So if you are press and you are watching this and you totally want to cover me, I mean my game,
Okay.
KitsuneGames.com/press is where the press kits are. With many thanks to Remy from Flambeer.
The press kit he has made is awesome.
Yeah, it's pure gold.
Okay.
We also have a press kit. You can find it on our website. So
Plug.
Oh, plug all the things. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. You can do better than this. Come on.
oh,
Come on,
also
come on.
tweets under. I'll type it as well. Hashtag.
Hashtag.
That Lumini doesn't exist.
Ah, you butts. You are all horrible people. I'm not insane.
Or are you?
Is this podcast even happening?
I'm sure it is.
But yes, guys, also YouTube viewers as well. Feel free to check out both of these development. I was gonna say development teams, but Eniko's kind of a team of one. Yeah. So check out both of these development studios. Speelbaars has. Damn it! Son of a. I knew I was not gonna say it correctly.
Try it again.
You've got 5 more minutes to get it right.
Speelbaars?
Speelbaars.
Speelbaars. Okay.
Speelbaars.
Speelbaars.
I am impressed.
There we go. Okay.
Good enough.
Good enough. Speelbaars has a demo out on their website right now, and Eniko has at midboss.net the alpha release.
Yelpa, just click the M pad. Just click it.
Yes.
Go there. Click it. Do it. Do it now. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Yeah. Pause the video and go check out both of their sites. Alright guys, this has been the Game Dev Podcast with Eniko
Hello.
and Steven and Luc of Speelbaars.
I'll buy more, I think. It's not... Hello, time has passed.
Yeah,
Oh.
bye, whatever.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.